strategies we can use as part of our digital marketing, and which channels we should be using, as well as the amount of resource that it will take to manage those channels. Now we can look at the individual digital marketing tactics we can do to make our campaigns a success. So let's take a look at digital marketing tactics. So just as a reminder, we're using the SOS-STACK model to frame our campaign. So we've already looked at our situation and developed user personas to go with it. We've looked at our objectives and found out the difference between goals and objectives and how to set SMART objectives. We've looked at strategy, so we've taken a look at all the different options we have available with our digital marketing activity and looked at how we can best address our objectives given the situation analysis we've undertaken. Now we're going into the actual tactics, what we can actually do to make people take action or do what we want them to do online in our digital marketing campaigns. So when we look at our tactics, we want to look at the different areas of digital marketing available to us. Here we're going to start with content marketing. Content marketing involves websites, email marketing or social media content that helps you promote your service or campaign. For example, it informs your audience about your organization and the support you can give them. So if you want to do content marketing, publishing articles or blog posts or emails, here are some of the questions that you need to think about. How can we communicate with our audiences online in creative ways? So what are ways that we can stand out online by using content? How can we improve our presence on social media? How can we have active Twitter feeds, Instagram feeds, Facebook feeds? And what can we do to get more people more excited and involved? What's the why? Why would our content engage our audience? What do we want them to do next? How are we going to make them click or engage or watch a video? How are we going to make them do that? How can our content be exciting? Now, to help answer those questions, we're going to look at the different types of content marketing. Now, again, I should emphasize that there are lots of different types of content. These are some of the main ones you might think about if you are thinking about putting together content marketing plan as part of your digital marketing activity. So we have podcasts, which have become very popular recently. Podcasts are great because you can do interviews with various people talking about the subjects that your charity or service covers, and then producing transcripts and social media posts from that podcast to help promote the work you're doing. So podcasts are a really great and popular type of content marketing that's been around for a while now. Now, social media counts as content marketing. I guess whatever you're promoting through social media needs to engage with people. You need to be promoting content you might have elsewhere. And actually, social media content can live on social media itself. It doesn't have to point anywhere else. So you have to think about that from a content marketing perspective. Next is video. Video like this. So we'll upload this video to our YouTube channel. We'll be promoting it across our different social media channels as well and in our email newsletters, plus embedding it on our website. So video itself is very versatile. In fact, probably even more versatile than podcasts, because again, from a video file, you can create a podcast from that video, which you can't create a video from a podcast. So video actually should be one of the top types of content that you look to create in your content marketing activity. Now, probably the most basic of content types that you're going to particularly use is blog posts. These are text mainly with images and video to help illustrate points, but they're quite easy to put together because you've been writing about your work, I'm sure, or writing about what your organisation has been up to. So to turn those into blog posts should be fairly straightforward. Now, I'd emphasise that you augment those blog posts with more interesting content like videos that you can embed. And even once you've done a blog post and published it, you can take the key parts and publish them across your social media channels and promote that blog post there. So again, blog post is a great, quick, easy way of telling people what you're up to, writing about your work, but then make sure you think about the other types of content that you've got that you can help promote that blog post. Then we have email marketing. Now, email marketing is, again, one of the most effective types of content marketing that you can run. The return on investment from email marketing campaigns tends to be higher than any other type of content. So really put email at the center of your planning because it is really valuable and you do get the attention of supporters and other stakeholders very highly through email marketing. Now, email doesn't have to be very complicated. It can be monthly updates, say, of what your organization has been up to. It could be summaries of the blog posts that you've posted or videos that you've published. So it can be a few lines just explaining what that blog post is about or that video is about and linking back to your website with that video. As well as trying summaries of the different content you've been published elsewhere, you might want to try single subject emails. This is where you don't have lots of links in there, but you are just having one main theme or subject of the email and one or two calls to action, probably one. Now, the reason you want to do this is because with lots of links, lots of different types of content, you can imagine people clicking on lots of different areas and trying out lots of things according to what's interest to them. If you reduce that down to just one email and one focused subject and one call to action, then it's much more likely for people to take that action. So if there's a particular thing you want people to do, try a single subject email rather than putting lots into your email marketing like a newsletter, for example. Try a single subject email. Next, we've got quizzes. Now, quizzes are quite a fun way of actually engaging your supporters, seeing how much they know about a certain subject, maybe related to your organization. And quizzes, because they're short, sharp, online, quite entertaining, you can actually get quite a lot of cut through using a quiz. And we've got a few examples of quizzes that have reached hundreds of thousands of people and have been shared across social media that people have been encouraged to take. And as soon as people get their results at the end of that quiz, you can serve them with a message about your cause or organisation. For example, you could encourage them to donate or share the quiz with their friends to further extend the reach, or to find out more about the work that your organisation does. So have a look at quizzes as quite a fun, light-hearted way of running some content marketing campaigns. Next, we've got photography. Now, a lot of this content that we're talking about here relies on text or it relies on video, but actually you should also be thinking about the type of photography that you're presenting as part of your work. So you might have some really interesting case study images that you can use, or some examples of your work in the field, of the people you're helping, your service users. What types of images can you capture as you go about your everyday work that you can use as part of your content marketing? Now, photography will be used across different types of other content. For example, you could use those images on social media posts, you could use them in blog posts, and you can use them in your email marketing. So think about how you're going to acquire images that represent your organization and the work you do. And rather than using stock images, try and capture your own photography. Now that takes resource, that takes planning, and that takes an understanding of what makes a good image. So not to be taken lightly. That said, if you don't have the resources to create your own photography, then there are free sites like Unsplash or Pexels.com that you can use to find images to be used for free as well. Next, we've got graphics. Graphics are things like infographics that present complicated data in a simple format and easily digestible format. So if you have lots of data analysis or lots of reports or research, then presenting them in a formal PDF report isn't actually that user-friendly. Instead, what you might want to do is take the key data points, the key data that you're trying to get across, and translate that into an infographic or some form of graphic that explains easily what exactly you're trying to communicate. So have a look at graphics. Now, as we did with our digital marketing strategy section, we're now going to look at the types of content marketing and how much resource, budget, and expertise they take. For example, video generally needs higher budget and expertise in order to create, whereas web copy actually takes a minimal amount of budget or expertise. Again, those points are arguable, but for the point of this introduction, we're going to stick with that analysis. You guys should look at your own organizations and how much it takes you to create video and web copy and decide how the resource, budget, and expertise fits for you. Now, email marketing, as it's low resource, low budget, and you do need a bit of expertise to make it work effectively, actually comes out on top in terms of what we're looking at here. And if the ROI is that high, then email marketing, again, I stress, is a great activity to look at if you haven't started using it already. Now, creating infographics might be medium resource, but you do need a lot of expertise in order to make it effective. There's no point creating an infographic or a graphic that doesn't really communicate to your audience what you're trying to do and actually makes it more confusing than just having it in a report. So think about that. Photography, again, you could say it's low resource, but to make it really good, really effective, you need a bit of budget to pay for a photographer, for example, and you need that expertise to show or try and find those stories from your organization's work. And with social media, you might think that it's actually a low budget option, but to make it effective, you need to put a lot of resource into it. And to really engage with your audiences, you need some expert help to make that happen. So social media isn't just free and simple, it actually takes a lot of resource and time to do. So again, when you're planning your digital marketing activity with your organization, make sure that you're thinking through aspects like this to make sure that the types of content marketing you put forward are actually achievable through resource, budget, and expertise. So let's look at the individual types of content in depth. So here we have social media. Now, social media is growing online communities through the people that engage with your organization's social media accounts, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Social media involves publishing content, monitoring and responding to queries, growing your community, and ensuring that you're able to listen and learn from what your service users and supporters are saying on social media. So it's not just a case of coming up with a few tweets, there's actually a lot more to it, and that's why you need a lot of resource behind your social media activity. Social media can also show you ways of keeping your online community positive and safe, dealing with trolls or other difficult situations that result from having an online community. And this is the thing about social media. Once you publish content on those channels, you have to expect conversation to come back at you, positive and negative. And that means that you need people who are manning your social media channels and are able to manage them effectively. So when planning social media content, here are some of the questions to think about. How do we make the most out of social media? How do we grow our social media following? There's no point in tweeting a lot if you haven't got many people to listen to you. How do we get the best results from our social media channels? So that question is all about measuring the impact of the social media activity that you undertake. We're not tweeting for Twitter's sake. We're not just posting lots to Instagram. We actually want real results, whether that's in the form of donations or people getting involved in your work or volunteering. You actually want to measure the results from your social media activity. And lastly, what social media channels should we be using and who are we talking to? So what we emphasize here is that you don't need to have a presence on every single social media channel. Think about where your audience is, think about the types of channels that they'll be using and stick to those social media channels. So for more business or corporate, look at LinkedIn. For more journalists, analysts, or policymakers, look at Twitter. And for more consumer or fun, look at Instagram and Facebook. So just to emphasize some of those social media channels, Facebook is most effective for an engaging and slightly older demographic who are sharing videos and links to useful content. Plus, look at building community because Facebook groups are a very interesting tool and way of bringing people together. Twitter is a very live channel. It's all about what's happening now. So Twitter is most effective for commentary on news articles and live events. What's happening now? How can your cause become part of the conversation? With Instagram, it's most effective to engage a younger demographic than Facebook. And it's a lot about the visual imagery. It's all about photos and images and bright videos. So you want to be showcasing your creative visuals and making sure that whatever you post to Instagram stands out. Now, I'm a big fan of Instagram for lots of causes. And although, yes, you can be creative with the photos and the videos that you use, a lot of the time, just using a camera phone to take a snap or a short video of the everyday work your organization does is a really great way to show behind the scenes and show the impact of the work that your organization does. So a quick snap of a photo, posting it to Instagram is really effective. And lastly, I put LinkedIn here as one of the other main social media channels, which is most effective for developing corporate connections, so business people. So if you've got anything about facing a more professional audience, then LinkedIn is a great one to use. And it's all about networking as well. So if you yourself want to connect with other people in your field, other people in your sector, that includes people like volunteers or funders, then LinkedIn is a great way to go about that. Again, with each social media channel, I encourage you to take a look at how much resource, budget, or expertise it takes to manage those channels effectively. So although Facebook might take a low amount of resource and a low amount of expertise to use, in order for your content to get seen by a large amount of people, you need to spend budget on that. Facebook has squeezed the organic reach of any content that is posted to its platform, and that means that you need to boost the ads or run ads through Facebook Ads Manager in order to create an effective reach for that content. We'll cover Facebook ads more in a separate training session, but for now, just if you're using Facebook organically, do think about putting some small amount of budget aside in order to promote your posts. Now with Twitter, it does take more resource than Facebook because you do need to be online, monitoring live events, responding to things that are happening now, and that takes time and effort to do. It does take a bit of budget as well if you want to promote the work you do. And then also you do need a bit of expertise to work your way around the individual idiosyncrasies of the platform, such as mentioning people, such as threads, such as mentions and direct messages, anything like that. You'll need a bit of expertise to get help with. With Instagram, we've put high resource. That's because if you want to create content that cuts through on Instagram and gets seen by lots of people, you need to put resource into creating that content. Now, in terms of budget, it's more user-friendly than Facebook, so your content will actually reach more people organically. But to help do that and cut through on Instagram and engage with your audiences, then you do need some expertise, so we put that slightly higher than Facebook. Lastly, with LinkedIn, it's low amount of resource, low amount of expertise because it's quite straightforward. But again, if you do want to promote your content to reach more people, you'll need some budget to do that. So that's a bit of a summary about the social media channels, but you in your own organization should be taking a look at what you're doing here and plotting this table yourself to see which is most effective for you. Just a few tips on social media that we find here at Empower from working with our clients on social media campaigns. You really want to make sure you have your objectives set. Clearly defined goals that correlate with the organization's objectives will really help your social media align with what you're trying to do as an organization overall. Otherwise, you're just undertaking social media for social media's sake. Next, think about community. I mean, the word social is in social media, so you need to be keeping people and community at the heart of your social media campaigns. So how can you keep users engaged with your organization and the content that you publish? And in particular, how can you encourage conversation? The social media platforms are looking for replies, comments, likes, shares. They're indicators of content that is valuable. And so the more you can encourage conversation, the more that your content will be seen by people. Lastly, don't think of content just as text or images or video. There are lots of other ways of posting to social media. So most of the platforms have polls, for example. You can upload documents, you can do Twitter threads, Instagram has stories and Facebook has stories. So there are lots and lots of different ways that you can create content for that. Whatever you do, always think about how you can add value to the users in some way, such as providing practical advice or simply with enjoyable content. You also want to think about growing your channels so you can expand your brand awareness and create more supporters. There's no point having just a small amount of supporters because all that content you're publishing won't be seen by many people. Try and follow other people on the platforms that you're on. Try and encourage them to follow you back. Encourage other people to mention you in their channels, and that way you can leverage other communities to grow your own. Lastly, analysis. Each of the main social media channels has their own inbuilt analytics. So ensure that you're using those key metrics and are reviewing them regularly, and make sure those social media channels and your activity is supporting your organizational objectives. Now, going hand in hand with social media is paid media or advertising. Now, generally at the moment, that means advertising on a social media platform like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or things like Google Ads, where your ads appear in search results on google.com, for example. Now, a social media ad will look a social media ad will normally look much like a normal social media post, but the difference is that you'll be able to target specific people depending on the categories and targeting options available on each platform. To help make the most of your budget, you should choose the best content to promote, selecting the best categories of audience for your organization, and setting appropriate goals for the ads. You want to make sure that the adverts that you post aren't just about reaching the most amount of people. Again, you want to tie them back to your organization's aims. Do you want donors? Do you want email signups? Do you want people to find out more on your website? So questions to think about. How can paid advertising benefit your organization? what social media platforms are best to market your organization. Is it better to run ads on Facebook or Instagram? And then how do we know if our ad campaign is working? What are the results that we're getting that prove that our paid media is bringing us returns to our organization? Now, as I mentioned, you can be running adverts on social media platforms like Facebook or on paid search through a platform like Google. Those are summarized as paid social, which is social media ads, and paid search, which is Google Ads. Now, we've broken it down a bit more here in how each one of those works in general. So with paid social, we get a much higher reach because you're pushing your content into someone else's feed. Paid search is a bit of a lower reach because you're relying on people searching for your content and through different keywords to find you. Now, paid social and paid search are both relevant for the audience because of the way that they target. With paid social, you're targeting by interests often, and if you match the interest with your audience, then the content is much more likely to be relevant to the audience. Paid search is reliant on people typing in words into a search engine for your ads to show, and the relevance of the audience there is what we call search intent. So if they're intending to search for something and your advert comes up, then it's going to be much more relevant to what they're looking for. In terms of cost effectiveness, paid social can actually be quite expensive to reach a large amount of people or to get them to take action. Paid search is generally a bit more cost effective, especially if you have access to the Google Grants program, where you get $10,000 per month for free as part of a Google grant. We'll cover that in a separate training session on Google Ads. Now, when you think about paid search versus paid social, if you're looking at brand awareness and driving high volumes of traffic, then paid social is the most effective method of advertising because you have the highest reach and also you can mix that with good audience relevance. If you're looking to drive website traffic with high search intent, so a smaller amount of people, but they're actually much more focused on your audience, your organization, your cause, then paid search or Google Ads is the most effective method of advertising. So hopefully that helps you think about what each variation on paid ads are and how they can help your organization. Again, we'll cover this more in a separate training session on Facebook ads and Google Ads. Next, we have search engine optimization. Now, we wanted to mention this because although it is a buzzword for organizations, it's actually the process of getting more traffic through to your site through free search listings. So rather than paying to be at the top of Google search rankings, through publishing excellent content that matches search intent, matches what your audience is looking for, then people will click on those results and you won't have to pay for the traffic that comes through to your website. Now, the questions to think about when thinking about an SEO strategy are, how can we get more people to visit our website without using paid advertising? And how can we ensure the right people visit our website? Now, mostly the answer to both of these is to create high quality content, so the best out there, that addresses the answers or your needs of your audiences. How can you answer their questions? How can you give them the content that they want? Now, the way to do that is to ask your audience, what are they searching for online related to your services? What questions do they ask in your everyday interactions with them? And can you translate that into content, blog posts, articles, videos that you publish on your website? And as soon as you publish it on your website, Google will know it's there and start to show it in the search results for relevant keywords, relevant phrases that people are searching for.